Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and man, I appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to spend with me and check the video out. I always appreciate that. And guys, today we're going to be talking about something that is a reality of fishing that you're going to have to deal with, and that is how to catch bass that are heavily pressured and highly educated. And I'm telling you what, there's more and more of them today than there's ever been. The bass today, they're more wary, they're more intelligent. They learn fast, they fail quick, they're harder to catch, and it requires a different approach a lot of times. Now, sometimes it depends on the mood and the personality of the fish. You can catch them, fishing bigger, aggressive baits, but more than not, if you fish a public body of water, you're going to have to learn how to deal with these highly educated bass. And I've got about a half a dozen techniques and lures that do pretty good for me I want to share with you guys in today's episode here. Also, guys, thank you very much for everybody's taking time to hit that subscribe button here to Intuitive Angling. Man, that is a free and easy way to support the channel. Much appreciated if you guys would just click that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment on the videos. And also, guys, if you want to go to the next level on the channel, you can be an Intuitive Angling channel member. And we got memberships starting at $4.99 a month. You get access to my personal email address where if you have any fishing questions, you email me, I'll help you guys out. I'll send you a response to it. You get videos every week that are not seen by the public, private videos. So just hit the join button when you see on my YouTube homepage, join button or membership button for information there. So really appreciate that. Okay, guys, that's just the way it is, man. Unless you fish a private farm pond, or if you got a private strip pit, like a lot of those guys that used to have television shows on that did, you got to deal with the reality of bass are hard to catch most of the time. In addition to the fact that we have fewer bass now than we ever have, the fish are just smarter. They've evolved to adapt to fishing pressure. They're very wary of noise. They're very aware of boat movements, increased noise decibel levels. And what you have is today's world of fishing with pressure. Fishing pressure creates the same type of negative effect in a bass mood and behavior as, say, like a bad cold front. Now, everybody has always equated, like when a bad cold front rolls through, the fish sort of turn off and get inactive. They get tougher to catch, which they do usually. The same thing happens when you have a lake that's getting a lot of pressure on it. Now, the pressure does not have to come from just fishing pressure per se. It comes from that fishing pressure, but it also comes with basically increases in the noise decibel levels. So when you say, for example, you're fishing and it's a weekend and you got recreational people out there, jet skis, pontoon boats, you got bass boats, you got all this noise in the water, underneath the water, you got electronic pings coming off your unit, you got trolling motor noises, and noises are amplified underwater. So you can imagine what it sounds like to a bass on the weekend about all these noise decibel levels, and they react to that. They turn off, they get non-aggressive, they get tough to catch. And if you don't think that's true, here's one way to tell it. If you got a public body of water, you go fishing there during the week. Go on a Wednesday or Thursday, and then you go back on that lake on a weekend when it's busy and notice the difference in how much tougher the fishing is. The fish react to it in a big way. So in order to catch those non-aggressive fish, there's some tactics that you have to entice those fish to hit based upon if they're willing to chase or not, which most of the time they're not. So I got my favorites here we're going to go through. Okay, let's talk about some of my highly pressured bait lures. Here's one of my favorite ones, guys. A lot of people don't fish. This is just the old jig head worm setup. I've got a little Ned head on here, a 1/16 of an ounce Ned head. And I've taken a Zoom trick worm here and I've cut it down to about 4 inches. So you can even cut it shorter. You can cut it 2 inches long. But this jig head worm setup, it is a great way to catch non-aggressive bass. Now, a lot of people use a shaky head, and the shaky head works, but there's a different type of a presentation on the old school jig head worm. There's something about it to me that a non-active, highly pressured bass, especially in a little bit clearer water, they like a jig head worm better than the shaky head a lot of times. I don't know what it is about it, but that's my setup right there for it. I catch a lot of fish in heavily fished waters on this rig right here. Usually fish it on like 6-pound test Seaguar and Vizix line, just around whatever cover is available on the lake that you're fishing. Okay, now here's another one similar about this. We did a video last week on it. This is another little killer, guys. This is what I call the craw rig here, or the Finesse craw rig. All it is, again, it's a Ned rig head, and I've got a Zoom little critter craw that I cut down. I cut the tentacles off it, and I cut about half of an inch off of it. Same type of deal. This little craw rig is really good. Especially I like to fish it on any type of steep or rocky bank, like riprap banks or bluff banks. Again, 6-pound test line, you'll get you a lot of bites, especially if you have a lake that's got spotted bass in it. And also, guys, I'll link every one of these lures that I'm talking about here today. I'll put them in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to use that link to order some of them, it's a good way to get you some baits and help the channel out. And also, guys, Tackle Warehouse has got a Black Friday sale going on right now. They got 25% off on a bunch of stuff on the site, so you can check it out, my link there. But this little craw rig, that'll definitely get you some good bites there. Okay, the next one, this is when the fish are chasing a little bit, they can be finicky, but they're chasing a little bit. Sometimes a little small crankbait can work good. This is the Megabass Super Z1, runs about probably 3 or 4 feet deep on 10-pound test line. And guys, this is a really good bait for highly pressured fish. It's a little bitty bait. It's only, a little over maybe about 1.25 inches long. I parallel rocky banks with this thing. It's a really good riprap bank. Riprap is a great place to fish on a heavily fished body of water, because even though riprap gets fished a lot, there's a lot of fish that use it, and a little bitty crankbait like the Super Z1 is a really good way to catch them. Another thing that will help you guys out on a crankbait on a heavily pressured body of water, try to have a crankbait that's silent, that doesn't make a lot of noise, like doesn't have a big rattle chamber in it. You'll get more bites on a silent crankbait, but just cranking rocky banks with that little thing is a good way to catch them. Okay, the next one, guys, this is just one of the all-time greatest little tough fishing baits there is. It's just a little bitty swim bait. Little bitty Kitech swim bait. This is a 2.4 inch. I got it on the Megabass Okashir jig head here. That Okashir jig head on this little swim bait is money. Little nano coated hook on it here. And you can just take this little swim bait here and just fish it for suspended fish, or you can fish it on the bottom. You can't go wrong with just taking it and just fan casting it around points. If you got bridge piers, throw it next to a bridge pier. If you got floating docks, throw it next to a floating dock. You can fish it on bluffs. You can fish it about anywhere. But my favorite way to fish this little swim bait for heavily pressured fish is to get out on main lake or secondary points, depending upon how clear the water is. And I start out by throwing maybe into 5 or 10 foot of water. I let the bait hit the bottom, and I just reel it slow just along the bottom like that. And then if it's clear, say if the water visibility is like over 3 or 4 foot in clarity, I'll get out into 15 or 20 foot of water on those same points, and I'll cast the swim bait out there, do the same thing, let it go to the bottom, but I'll also cast it out there, let it sink 5 or 10 feet, and then reel it back for suspended fish. Now this is really good, especially if you've been able to graph, like on your 2D sonar, some bait fish out on those points. This little swim bait's a good way to catch them. Now this next one is a little bit similar deal, guys, to the swim bait. This is a Zoom Tiny Fluke. Now guys, this is a limit getter right here. This little Zoom Tiny Fluke, again, I got the Okashir jig head on it. And this Tiny Fluke is something that actually an old guy, like an old 85-year-old dude down at Lake Hartwell in Georgia, showed me this trick about 25 years ago. This little Zoom Tiny Fluke here on a little bitty 1/8 ounce jig head, fishing it on like rocky banks or gravelly type banks or gravelly points, and just throwing it out there, guys, and just reeling it along the bottom. It's like you let it hit the bottom like that, and just slow crank it just along the bottom. You don't want this thing to come up off the bottom. You just want it sort of just to go like a little sculpin along the bottom like that. And guys, it is deadly on heavily pressured fish. And it is one of the greatest, what I call release fish baits that there is. A lot of people, if they're bass fishing, they go to areas where there's big tournaments at, because a lot of the tournaments will release their fish right there at the weigh-in site. And a lot of those release fish, they will live there. They take up residence in and around an area close to where they released at. And obviously they're very wary, very finicky fish. And this is one of the best little baits you can throw for retreads or release fish that are out there. You can also catch a lot of fish on this little Tiny Fluke around bridge piers, fishing it on that. And then finally, guys, my favorite finesse jerkbait of all time. This is the bait I'm going to be throwing a bunch over the next 3 or 4 months. This is the Megabass X Nanahan +1. It's got the lip on it, will allow this bait to run probably 6, 7, maybe 8 foot deep on 6-pound line. This is a little 2-inch long jerkbait. It's a Finesse jerkbait. Deadly, guys, in cold water and clear water. If you got water visibility over 3 or 4 feet and you got water temperatures in the 40s or the 50s, take this little X Nanahan, guys, fish it around bluff banks, rocky banks, around points, and it is deadly on heavily pressured fish in the wintertime. I mean, probably one of the most, well, probably is the best jerkbait you can throw for the wintertime fishing, but this little Finesse jerkbait will get those heavily pressured fish to react to. A couple other things to remember, guys, is aside from the technique and the bait, is when you're fishing for heavily pressured fish, try to be as quiet as you can and try to make the longest cast you can. You will catch way more finicky bass if you can make a super long cast. Get that bait away from the boat as far as you can. Don't stay on the trolling motor too much. Keep your trolling motor dialed back on a lower speed. But I cannot reiterate how many more bass you're going to catch on a heavily fished, finicky bass situation by making a long cast with some of these baits that I'm talking about here. So, you know, guys, I'll link them in the description. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk later.